series in which we'll go ahead and install Windows 11. As you can see on the website, Microsoft website, you are actually able to download for free Windows 11. At the time of this recording, version 24H2 is available. In their website, they actually give you pretty good instructions on how to install it, which format to choose from, and pretty much everything in between. I had in advance downloaded it, and I already have it on my thumb drive, for which we'll go ahead and insert in one of these USBs on top. That's a 3.0 version. And let's go ahead and reboot this machine. And let's see what it's going to allow us to do. Yeah, we have not done any changes. Go ahead. Let's just boot and let's see if we can find the boot menu. Okay, switching around. See the MSI logo. Perhaps he's trying to understand what in the world did I plug into it. And he's thinking. And indeed, it has found my thumb drive. So let's go ahead and go through the motions. It should be very self-explanatory. The installation of the operating system has a few extra items that you have to execute, and as we can see, we'll go through those things together. Everything else, of course, is self-explanatory, and it all depends on your region, so you have to choose accordingly. Since we are in the US, we'll choose everything accordingly. We don't have anything on our target media, but we'll go ahead and agree to that. Since this is a fresh install, we'll go ahead and select the default. At this time, I do not have a product key, so I'll select that. And we're going to go ahead and install Pro. You have N, Home N, Education, and the different variances of the operating system flavors. Now we could also select for workstation, which will allow us to have a little more network and domain oriented workstation. But we'll go ahead and just simply select Pro. That should suffice for all our needs. We're not going to be connecting this machine to any domain, or we're not going to be managing any domains or anything like that. We'll still be able to browse the internet, we'll still be able to install stuff. So we'll still be able to do everything that we need to do with Pro. Anything else above Pro is a little bit lighter. It is, there's a lot of things that menu driven stuff like that. The different pre-install items that you can start with or don't start with. So that's why this here are a little more light than Pro. It doesn't mean that you can install those additional features, but Pro is a good medium point to start from. And again, they're not saying you cannot access those features if you select Pro or not. So here we have the license terms. Obviously, it is advisable to be familiar with the literature here and oblige by their license terms. So we're just going to quickly scroll down through this here so you can see how long it is and the different types of items that the license covers or allows you to the limitations pretty much of you and the operating system creator as far as usage, etc., and of course regions in the world, all that stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and accept that because obviously we need to. Unfortunately, there's not a maybe button. Okay, so this is important stuff. Yes, everything else was important, your region, the language, and all that good stuff. But if you don't get this right, then you might probably be installing it in the wrong location. So it's very important to be familiar with this here. Because like for example, we know we install a 1 terabyte hard drive, SATA drive, and a 256 M2 drive. So when you're looking at this stuff, it's like, oh my god, well I only installed 2 stuff. What in the world is going on here? Huh. So this is why it's good to be familiar with your hardware. Yes, we could have unplugged the 1 terabyte. We don't need it right now. To make this a little bit clear to navigate. Obviously, we're gonna have the USB drive that we plugged in, and that one's gonna be a little bit easy to identify because it's actually labeled. So that's good, and I know it's a 16 gig drive, thumb drive, and yes, it's reflected as something else, but all their stuff is installed in the drive, which occupies space, but still they label it as a 16 gig. But anyway, so we can narrow this out. I know I'm not going to install the operating system here because this is where it's going to be coming from. So where is my 256? Okay, so let's see. I have some other stuff over here. And this other stuff here. Okay, so this stuff here has a little bit more substance, a little more space. So this one here is closer to my 1 terabyte because it's 931 gigs. And this one here is closer to my 256. So I'm going to presume that this is the one that I want. But I'm going to do something else. I'm gonna go ahead and okay, so it's not gonna let me delete those. Okay, so these here are predetermined when the operating system, when the machine rebooted, and so it read those sections or partitions in these two. So if you're able to delete them, that's that's fine, and just simply just recreate. So what happens is that they're gonna go away, they'll get rejoined to the according hardware where they came from, and you simply just create the partition, and voila, that's all you have to do. But these two are pre-allocated for the for this guy here. And one of the things that and it's like duh, I just noticed, these two here are actually our boot information partitions from this guy here. And one of the easiest thing that you can actually tell is because they'll come from the same one. But if you are creating or recovering a machine, or you have a drive that has been already partitioned, they will also show up. So you have to do this discovery anyway, because let's say, for example, like I explained before, if disk 0, which is the 1 terabyte, has been previously partitioned onto how many other pieces, they will also show up over here, just like this guy is showing up in the various partitions, but they have purposes. So let's say, for example, if you're recovering a machine, and you're like, you know what, I'm just simply going to just blow the whole thing, and I'm going to forget about recovering it. I have everything backed up. The machine was giving me issues that kind of sort of pointed to the operating system, or you're trying to troubleshoot if it is an operating system issue. But you have a whole bunch of other partitions that you don't care about, or you already backed them up. You can actually delete them, and actually this choice will be available if there were additional partitions that were not protected. These partitions are protected because they are part of the booting partition for the thumb drive, and that happened when I followed the instructions in the Windows website, and when I created the thumb drive, it creates those additional partitions, so that way I can boot up using the thumb drive. So you have to look for those other extra partitions that belong to your target hard drives or M2s that you just don't need anymore, and you want them to be reunited, if you will, to the main storage device. But if it is the SATA drive that you have installed, or the M2s that you have in there, and then once you have recovered those partitions, then you can create a new partition, or you just simply just let the operating system create a partition for you. But the whole purpose of deleting any other partition that you might don't need anymore is so that way, if you want to recreate the partitions with a different size, this is the place to do it. But let's say, for example, if those partitions there are the size that you need for whatever purpose, then you simply just leave them alone, select your target, click next, and the operating system will be installed on that target that you selected, and your partitions may be there, may not. You may probably have to do an extra step once the operating system is already installed. So don't panic at that moment. We'll go and look at the disk management once we're done, and you'll see what I mean. And actually, let's go ahead just to go through the motions. This is my 1 terabyte. I'm gonna create a partition. Let's see. Let's just remove the 9 from here. So I'm going to create a 5 gig partition. Let me see, how did it do it? Okay, so it wasn't a 5 gig. I'm sorry. A 52 gig partition. Yeah, that's right. 52 gig partition. In addition to the main partition that I already had there. So I took a small chunk and created away from that 1 terabyte and created this here. As you can see, the system automatically takes a little bit of overhead, and this is what I mean. Let's say, for example, if we had installed this hard drive there, and we see a whole bunch of other stuff that we didn't care about, we can go ahead and delete it and delete them, right? And just mimicking, just so we can regroup these partitions that we don't care about back into into one central location, into one central, pretty much regrouping all the storage that we had there, into one central location, instead of having it all spread out this way. Obviously, these are just overhead. The one that you are going to be able to use once the operating system is in place are these two. The main one, if you will, and the one that you carved out of this here. So again, if you're presented with a whole bunch of stuff, do not panic. Just simply go through the motions and pretty much sort out this mess, if you will, quote unquote. And this way, you can determine, okay, I'm not gonna need none of this stuff here. And actually, I don't need none of this stuff there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just delete it, because I know that pretty much came from this guy here, which I prefer to have it all as a whole instead of a 52 gig and a 800 gig something and change. Yeah, okay, that looks much better. I just want the whole terabyte available, quote unquote 1 terabyte. There's overhead. There's always overhead. I'd rather have it all in one place. That way I don't have to worry about splitting software on, and have it all over the place, unless there is a need for it. So I know I'm not going to install my operating system in the 1 terabyte because I know that's the slowest. There was a purpose why I installed this M2 drive, In 256 minus the overhead, will be plenty of room to install the operating system and anything else that may require to be installed here. There's still going to be plenty of room. And all my productivity work and anything else that has to do with related to what I'm producing will be installed anyplace else. So I'm gonna go ahead and select that and click next. I'm gonna wait until the machine decides to do the next step. Yes, 11 Pro is what was selected, and yes, I don't need to keep anything in there besides it should be empty. And I'm gonna go ahead and start the installation. So obviously this is gonna take some time, so speed this up. Okay, so we started at let's see, 9:35. So it took approximately 7 minutes to get to this point. So let's see. That's what he wants. Okay. Yes, we are in the United States. Again, your region might be different, so you select accordingly. Yes, it will be US keyboard layout. No, we do not. But if you do, you can add it at this point, and you should be able to add it later on as well. So since it didn't recognize neither the Wi-Fi or the network card, I went ahead and found the CD that came with the motherboard and proceeded to put it in the machine. Except the machine does not have a CD-ROM drive, just like possibly your card doesn't have a CD reader nor a cassette player. But fear not, because, and you can call me a hoarder all day long, but for the hoarders out there, put one on the board for us, because I have a portable USB CD reader. Might probably be a DVD reader, but nonetheless, haha, and that's why we keep things. Okay, so it seems like it is not, at least, that's not letting me pick individual files because it doesn't see what it's looking for. But I went ahead and just simply select the root drive, the entire drive, and hopefully it finds what we're looking for. Of course, we can go ahead and look at the MSI website and see if we can download the drivers. Or if you have a wireless dongle that you know it works on Windows 11 natively, so you can go ahead and obviously do that. But as we can see, apparently it did find something within the immense amount of folders that the drive that the CD has. So that's why if I couldn't find by me picking through the folders, if I couldn't find what I was looking for, just simply select the whole entire disk like we did and let it look for the files that it needs. So apparently it found the wire network card, which it looks like it installed, and obviously is connected to my switch. So let's see what else from here. Obviously, if I wouldn't have not had a portable CD drive, I would have gone to the website, download the network card drivers, put it on a different thumb drive, because remember, we're not quite sure right now if the operating system is still using the installation thumb drive. So we're going to leave it alone, just in case. I would have copied the drivers onto a separate thumb drive, and then would have done the same procedure. Now, let's say, for example, if you only have one thumb drive. So what you could have done is after preparing your thumb drive with Windows 11 or whatever operating system, you could have added any drivers that you might have needed onto the thumb drive, and then start the installation. You could have obviously done that with no problem. There's no disturbance on the operating system installation disk if you add additional files in their own folder, of course, so it will be easier to find. The problem will be is that if you don't have enough space, then you start deleting stuff that it needs. So yeah. So looking back at the screen over here, we see that install anything that has to do with networking. Obviously, we're not going to choose any of the wireless. We're just simply going to concentrate on the wired one, just for simplicity's sake. The speed will be there on either one, but I prefer wire anyway. And the reason I'm saying that speed will be there is because these files are, if it's going to download any updates or whatever, they will be as fast as you being served them. So if the provider is your bottleneck, then that's as fast as you're going to be consuming them as in the files that you're going to be downloading. Of course, if you have a slow wireless, then wire will always beat it, of course. Or if it is spotty or what have you. Okay, so let's go ahead and name the device. Let's call it and by the way, you can always change this later, but let's call it first. And let's see, no spaces or special characters other than hyphen, dashes, short and long dashes, and underscore. Okay. First build. Again, you can always change that, or you can just simply skip it and it will make one for you. First build. So let's go ahead and click next. Alright, so as we can see, the machine was named and it was rebooted. In this step, it's going to ask us for what we're going to be using the machine for. So we're going to go ahead and say set of personal use. So we're going to do that. This here, of course, it's going to ask us for a little more stuff that is not going to correlate with what we're going to be using the machine for. Click next. So now it's checking for updates. And yes, wire will definitely be the better choice in maybe 90% of the cases. Whatever your bottleneck may be. So this right here may probably take from a minute to a decade. So we're just gonna simply go ahead and speed the video up and we'll see you in a couple seconds. Alright, and we are back. It took like about 15 minutes or so. Okay, so this is the part that you can't skip. So this one will actually require you to either create a Microsoft email account or use the current one that you have. So in here it gives you the reasons and the benefits of logging into your operating system, or it's kind of sort of rather like maybe registering the installation. It's pretty much the way I take it. So let's go ahead and click sign in. Alright, so we just completed the steps in which you name your machine, you input your current email address or created one, as well as a password for that new email address, your full name and birthday, as well as a recovery email address. That one, it gives you a choice, whether if it is an email or a phone number. But obviously the choice will be yours. And lastly, it will ask you to create a PIN from which you're going to be utilizing to log into the machine. Obviously, we're going to see that later on. It's not going to ask you for your password that you created in this section. It's going to ask you for that PIN that you created. Now the next thing, of course, as usual, is privacy settings. And this here you choose whatever fits you best. For me, I usually choose something different. Again, those are my preferences. Okay, so since I didn't have any previous installation, I'm not recovering anything, I'm not bringing anything over, the first choice is not for us, so the second choice must be us, which of course is a new PC. So I select that, click next, and it's going to continue doing magic in the background. Okay, so in this particular menu, this is pretty much the one of the few things that is going to allow you to skip. Anything else previous to this, I think there was only one thing that would allow you to skip, and it was naming the machine. Because if you skip that step, what it will do is that it will create one for you to use. But then between that and this point, yes, there were no skipping options. This one here, yes, I will probably be doing some of that. I'm not gonna be doing any development or anything like that. Again, I'll be able to install these things later. Yes, I'll probably do some of that. I'm gonna say that I will do some of this here. Yeah, sure, why not? Sure. Okay, in this step here, it will, if I remember correctly, it's gonna ask you to enter additional user accounts. So I'm not gonna do that. I can always create accounts once the operating system is up and running. So let's go ahead, and I'm satisfied with this here. Again, these are choices that you can always come back and install later on. And no, the previous choices was offering syncing of my phone with my machine, and it offered a custom-made barcode to do that. But I opted out of that. Again, that particular step, that will be completely up to you. It will allow you to skip that step. Okay, so let's see. Always have access to your recent browsing data. Okay, so I'm not supposed to. So I'm gonna go ahead and accept that. Okay, so this particular one, my choice, of course. I'm gonna say no to. Don't want no activity. I don't need no activity to be tracked if I don't need to. This here is a subscription base, so no. Again, you can opt to subscribe to that, but I don't need that, and I'm gonna decline on that, which it's kind of sort of the same thing. At this time, I'm not gonna be using that. There are other choices out there, but if you like that, you can choose that. If you need Game Pass, you can actually do it from this location. Otherwise, you can just skip it, or just simply just do it later on directly from the Microsoft website. So as you can see, our operating system has been installed. Yes, there were a couple things that we had to jump through, which was the installation of the drivers for our network card and wireless. I had a portable CD drive, otherwise I would have to just jump into their manufacturer, the MSI manufacturer website for the board. and copy the drivers off their website into a thumb drive and install it that way. Now, one key thing that I encountered when I plugged in my portable USB CD-ROM reader was that I grabbed a cable that was only for power. Have no idea how I got that, but apparently I do. So I went ahead and changed the cable to a cable that supports data, and I was able to connect that way and extract the files off the CD-ROM drive. Otherwise, it wouldn't even appear. Another thing that we did was we went ahead and created an email account, if that was your choice, or use the same name that email account that you have, and went through fill up any other requirements, as well as any subscription that I wanted, any other software that I wanted to be installed, which that was pretty much one of the last steps there. Another thing that the machine did do after installing the network card was it downloaded drivers. Now, I do not know how much of that I still need to do. One thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look around, see if I need to install anything else. And one of the things that I will do is I'm going to go ahead and look at if the motherboard needs additional drivers also. Alright, so looking at this pop-up that was behind our Windows menu, this is our new Windows button, by the way, is a driver utility. So it pretty much is going to do all the work for us. We don't have to go out to the website. Now, if you already did that, that is fine. You can go ahead and just start installing the drivers. A lot of these drivers already pre-install. The ones that we actually did for the network card, other ones probably came from the operating system, so it detected those as being just fine. The one that was on the CD, it was expected that it needed updating. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit install and wait for it to finish. Perfect. Our utility installed our drivers. As you can see, it gave us a pretty neat background and obviously a commercial in a sense. So let's go ahead and click finish. If you want to, of course, visit their website for any additional information. Let's go ahead and click finish. Now, so once our motherboard drivers are installed, that gives us an opportunity to go back to our Microsoft update portal, and let's see what we have. And here we go. And this is what I was talking about. Typically, the updates that the machine will do at the installation phase, those are not all the drivers or the software packs and updates that it may need at that point. Otherwise, you will be there for a long time. Now, what does help is if you download the latest version of the operating system from the website, this will definitely give you a heads up in a way of anything that has happened. from the moment or from the time when you first downloaded that operating system into your thumb drive weeks ago. So if you download the latest one, the less updates that you will have to make in between. Another thing is that since that particular version was put out, most likely there will be a community. Most likely there would have been other updates, small updates that will have to be added to that. Whether if it is a cumulative update or just a regular update for malicious software removal, as we see here. What else? The antivirus, or Defender. So there's always something to install. So the ones that it did during the installation, those are probably core updates. That's not everything in there. So once the hardware updates have been performed with drivers from the manufacturer, it's always good to go back and recheck Microsoft update portal, just in the event that Microsoft has a better driver or an updated driver than the manufacturer for whatever reason. In our case, this is a brand new install, so there's always going to be something else to catch up. But something to keep in mind: every time you install drivers from the manufacturer, go back and just check Microsoft updates anyway. Let's go ahead and click this here. Again, waiting time on this can take from now until forever. If they're not big updates, they go a lot quicker. But since we have to wait for a couple of those to be installed, we're gonna go ahead and speed up the video and let's see what's on the other side. Alright, so apparently one of the updates, and typically anything related to a cumulative update will require a restart. Now, it looks like the Intel.NET here error out. Let's hit retry and see what happens. Okay, so this probably may rely on a reboot to occur. So perhaps maybe this one needs to be in place and then we'll try it again. So let's go ahead and perform the restart. And a good thing to note at this point is, technically speaking, the operating system is fully installed. For the most part, is fully updated. Let's see how fast the machine will actually reboot. So it took less than a minute to restart. And I kept saying it was a CD-ROM. I meant a DVD. Nobody uses floppy disks anymore. Okay, so let's go ahead and look around. Of course, these are not clickable items, of course. So let's go ahead. Let's go back into updates. Let's go ahead and retry that. And as you can see, the Intel.NET apparently installed, and it seemed like it found another one for Defender. Everything seems to be in order. I'm gonna go ahead and just click check again, and everything seems to be in order. So let's go ahead and look at the history of updates. And okay, so it looks like this one looks like that's for the sound. Might have failed, but it was successful here. Okay, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay, a lot of times updates actually staggered. They need to be staggered so they can actually install. The machine sometimes tries to do a good job at sorting it out, but that typically does not happen. So it's always good to try several times, reboot a couple times, and pretty much try again until you are 100% sure that okay, there's no more updates coming down. I'm satisfied with what we have so far. Let's go ahead and meet our operating system. Let's type system, which actually we were already there anyway. So okay, so our process is being recognized. Since we are not boosting, we are 3.7. Remember, we can actually go all the way to 4.5 if I remember correctly. 32 gigs, which pretty much all of it is being used. It's a 64-bit operating system with a 64-bit processor. No, we do not have touchscreen, so that's fine. Windows 11 Pro, this is our version, and anything else that comes with it. It's of course going to list the default apps that the machine is using among all the things that we might have installed during the installation process. But other than that, it's pretty much going to be bare bones. This here will give you access to creating additional accounts or associating other emails with various services, or an email account to actually log into the system if you choose to. It has gaming options, accessibility in the event that you do have people with disability or have issues seeing specific colors, or they need to adjust the contrast or the size of the fonts, as well as any pointing aid devices, or if they need to have everything narrated. So these options are default for quite some time already. Privacy and security. This will allow you to choose some of the stuff that we toggle earlier during the installations. During the installation, this here will allow you to choose or change some of the privacy settings that we chose at the beginning during the installation, and obviously Windows Update, which we already have gone through. Okay, this is our home. That's our okay, so this is here pretty much gives you a a rundown some of the stuff that might be pre-installed or you have access to, and some of the stuff that you can tailor as well. So since this machine does have Bluetooth, it's also listed here as an item for quick access. If you don't want it to be active, of course, you can disable it. Not quite sure why wouldn't the other device. Well, let's click here, and okay, well, it throws you back into its menu. But how about wireless? How about if I want to disable wireless? But for whatever reason, Bluetooth is what's listed there. Perfect. Okay, so let's see this utility. Allows us to look at how our hardware is doing. Of course, the core and the core speeds, the cache. We only have one socket, so that's not going to change. Our voltages, obviously, that's the socket that the operating system, of course, it's the socket that the CPU is built on. Let's look at the motherboard. One thing I'm looking for is my temperature. DDR4. That's the memory per slot. Of course, it's going to be 4. We're going to have only 2. The graphics is just the integrated one. But let's see, where's the... Okay, my temperatures are not there. Okay, interesting. So this here will give us a comparison on where we at. Put the machine to any stress or anything like that. But let's go ahead and bench this and see how it does against the i9. So obviously a i9 will be a lot more competitive, obviously. So we actually a little bit, as far as a single thread, we surpass the Ryzen 9. Obviously the multi-thread, because of this one has 16 core, so, and 32 threads. Obviously we're a little bit short, but not too bad overall. Okay, perfect. I would like to know how the temperature is doing. So we have here extreme. Okay, that's okay. Let's do that. This one is not free. Is evaluation good? Oh, jeez. Okay, fine. Goodness. Thank you for letting me know. CPU. So, okay, we have our threads here and our cores. And what is it doing? I need to know My temperature. We're probably gonna have to install a different software that is actually free and see how the temperatures are doing. That is really good. Of course, that doesn't make no sense if we were actually at 30 degrees Celsius when basically idle. And 25 degrees with the operating system. I will obviously look at a second opinion, but that looks really good. Now obviously that's without stress. Again, I will get a second opinion. Motherboard is at the temperature that we were getting before. Sure. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll watch our temperature, and there is our temperature. 59, 58, 60, 66, 66, 67. We have to also remember that the door for the case is actually open, so the airflow is interrupted. The room still at 72 degrees or so. Nothing in the room has changed. Running at 100% with the room at the temperature that it is now, there is a chance that I might probably have to install a second fan on the CPU heatsink. Now so far it means it is not bad. At 100%, it is not bad. Wow. Okay, it is being sustained. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop the test as it is hovering at 70 degrees. Let's see where its cool down settling temperature will be, which is back pretty much at the temperature we saw at an idle state in BIOS. Now, there is a chance that for whatever reason BIOS might have had all the cores active, whereas here the operating system may have a bit more control of it. So let's give it another minute or so and see where we park. Alright, so it looks like we're hovering at 27 degrees, and we can call it 30 degrees. There might be one or two plus minus differences from what we saw it earlier during our BIOS temperature check, which is stayed about 30 degrees. So that was a good run. I'll continue to test the machine and update anything else that we need to, and let's see how it does. But as of right now, I call this a success. Machine's performing well. It is as fast as expected. It is an M2 drive, and we'll continue putting it through the paste, and we'll continue putting it through its paces. Alright, so that was a good run. The machine performed really well. We did a couple stress tests. We matched it up with a couple other rivals CPUs, and it's not so bad. It's not so bad. I consider this a success. I will continue to test it. Maybe in the future we'll do a few updates. For the moment, the machine will become a workhorse for my production. In future builds, I'm gonna concentrate more on building a much more superior gaming machine than my Aurora. Of course, don't say anything. It doesn't know. But until then, we definitely had a lot of fun. At least I did. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and if you would like to see more builds, or if you want me to go ahead and do additional tests to this machine, please leave a comment below, subscribe, hit the bell button, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching.